Hello and welcome to another BlenderWiz video tutorial. This is the 11th part of the 1957 Ford Thunderbird tutorial series. In this tutorial, we will be covering a lot of the smaller details of the car, especially on the interior. We will begin by making the headlamps, then we will create the steering wheel and the steering column. Next, we will work on the dials, knobs, assorted minor details on the dashboard, and then the pedals. We'll finish up the tutorial by cutting out the gas door in the back. So we're just going to start right in on the headlights. Let's go ahead and hide the cowling that goes around the rim here and duplicate that inner ring. Hit P to separate it by selection. Let's tab out of edit mode, hit Control I and hide almost everything. So you just want to have the headlight ring left. So let's go into top view mode, and since headlights behind the glass are kind of bullet shaped, we're just going to model that out, so extrude that. And that's just going to make up our reflector. So let's go ahead and set that to smooth shading. Next, we're going to bring this out a little bit. So there's kind of a rim that goes around the glass, and that just kind of holds it in. So let's model that. So there are easy ways from this point, and there are hard ways. So the glass of a headlight has different polygons, different cuts in it, and that just deflects the light in different ways to give you the maximum brightness or the maximum visibility at night. Now, you could try modeling all of these into your headlight, but that's just going to give you crazy numbers of polygons. So we're actually just going to use a texture. So we can just bring this in, just extrude it in, and create a circle. Now, leave some space in here and have some loop cuts, because we're going to hit Alt-0 or Alt-O to turn on the fall off, and then just slide out that edge. Of course, we need to change the fall off to sphere. And this will just give our headlights a little bit of depth. How much is up to you. Okay, so this really just makes up our headlight. Let's go ahead and add a quick little loop cut in right there. Sharpen this up. But that's really unnecessary. I mean, we're not going to be looking at it super closely. There we go. So for now, that's really all there is to it. Let's unhide the car and see how it looks. We're going to go ahead now and work on creating the steering wheel. So let's go into another render layer just to keep the clutter down. Let's reposition the cursor to the center. I have a nice reference image to work from. I will try to remember to post a link to it in the description section. Let's go ahead and add in a circle. Turn the number of vertices down to, I don't know, 8, maybe 10. 10 should be good. Okay, just take these sections here and just extrude them out. This one just extrude along the Y. Okay, let's throw in a loop cut. Actually, why don't we set this to 11? That way we have a nice middle. I don't know. We want that middle one. That way when we go and slice it in half, it's nice and easy to work with, but this should be fine. Okay, so something like that. So just reposition those vertices like so. Let's do the same down here. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. Let's create another circle, scale it down a little bit, not too much. Let's set the cursor to the center of those two vertices. Hit period on the number pad. We're gonna scale this up ever so slightly, and then let's just connect all of these vertices like so. Okay, now let's just chop off this half. So that's looking pretty good. Later this in here will probably become the hub or the horn. Actually, oops, sorry about that. Let's cut these out. Shift-D, let's bring them out. Let's get rid of those ones. Okay. So those will make up the horn. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this little piece some thickness. So select the whole thing. Actually, let's hide that inner circle there. Select this guy. Let's extrude it up along the Z, like so. Take these vertices there, those vertices there, scale them down along the Z. Let's go ahead and delete any edges that we don't, or faces that we don't need. So that face, those end faces can go. That should be good. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and create this torus that goes around the outside. So grab a circle. Let's turn it down to 8 vertices. Hey, my S key isn't working. Well, this isn't fun. There we go. Okay, so let's scale that down, bring it up along the Y, rotate it along the Y 90 degrees. Let's hit Alt-R. Actually, let's set the cursor back to the center. Alt-R. Make it rotate 180 degrees. Let's set the steps to 14. 14 should be good. Okay. So that is looking pretty good. Let's hit Control 1, throw in a nice loop cut, or subsurf modifier, and sharpen anything up that needs to be. Set it to smooth shading. So let's throw in a set of loop cuts there. Okay. Let's see, what else do we need to do? Okay, so we need to start working on giving this guy depth. So, right like that. Let's go ahead and extrude this up. There we go. So, from top view, we can see that we have kind of 3 layers here. So we've got the lowest layer, which is the spokes that go out and connect to the handle, or where the user holds the wheel. Then we've got this other chrome colored artistic piece, and then finally we have the horn inlay. So right now we're just creating a little place for the artistic piece to connect to. So let's just reposition that there. Let's take that guy, scale it out. Oh, hit period. And have it just scale out like so. E, and hey, Oh, if it's being strange and you have proportional editing turned on, turn it off, and then it won't act strange anymore. Let's make sure I don't have any doubles anymore. There we go. Okay, let's scale that in a little bit, and up and in. Hit Shift Z to stop it from going in toward that along the Z axis. Let's bring that down, bring it in. We want to keep this nice and sharp. Let's bring that up. Okay, so there is half a steering wheel. The best part about this next bit is it's really easy. We're just going to add a mirror modifier. And boom. We don't need that top circle anymore. I just thought we did. Okay, so there is the main part of the steering wheel. Next up we need to... Ooh, that looks a little strange. Oh well. Okay, next we need to work on the artistic piece. Also, we need to make sure that this lines up. So, make sure that your subsurf comes after your mirror modifier, otherwise you're going to get some weird cracks, which might have been happening here a little bit. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and add in the little artistic-y piece. So pretty much just grows out from right over here. I'm not even going to bother extruding it out. Let's just set the cursor right there, bring in a cube, make sure clipping is off for now. Let's rotate this around. Hit comma to turn off the proportional, or not proportional, the pivot point. Let's just drag this out to the end there. Connect that up like so. Okay, let's put the cursor back in the center. Hit period, E, and then rotate, and it'll just rotate along very nicely. Let's turn on clipping and delete this last face. That way when they come together it doesn't screw anything up. So let's just go around like so. Okay, and now let's go ahead and hide that, delete this face right here, and then we gotta sharpen some stuff up. So that looks pretty good. Feel like I want to do that. Let's throw in a loop cut there. Bring that up just so that this is a little bit more circular and this edge is a little bit square. Set that to smooth shading. We still need one more little circle piece coming off of here. So let's go ahead and add in a cube. Cut it down the middle. Delete half. Oops. Grab those faces there. Let's bring it up so that's even with everything. Okay. And let's just bring it down along the Y. Delete that face there. Delete this face here. Let's bring those in. Actually needs to scale down along the X a bit. Set that to smooth, And I think all we got to do, scale this down, and there we go. So there is the artistic piece, and there's the rest of our wheel there. We still should put in some creases here. So how we're going to do that? It's going to be very similar to how we did the seats. So I'm actually just going to hide most of this. It's going to be a bit repetitive, so for that I apologize. And I will probably fast forward it a little bit. So just put in loop cuts. Okay, and now we're just going to put in a center piece here. Once you are done with that, select all of the center circles or loop cuts. Whoa. And then, when you're ready to go, hit Alt-S. Just scale it in. Not too much, or it'll start to look like a sausage, and that's not what we're looking for. So something kind of like that. I'm actually going to go ahead and create a vertex group, so if we do want to change anything, we can do it very easily instead of having to go and select all of them again. So let's just call them creases and assign that. So that is pretty good. So next up, we need to create the rest of the hub. So let's just bring that in. Actually, let's reposition the cursor right there in the middle. Hit period. EZ, just to give it a little bit of depth there. S, Shift Z, just bring it in. And then let's bring that down. And that just makes up the steering column. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. So let's bring this over, let's duplicate it, move it over to the first layer. It's going to be absolutely humongous, so scale that way down until it fits inside the car. Now remember that it will be a little bit larger than you're used to in a normal car, just because old cars tend to have very large steering wheels. And that is because they're a lot harder to turn, merely because they don't have the power steering that modern cars do. So actually it came as a bit of a surprise to me, but the steering wheel actually goes right through the dash. I've never seen that before. I think we need to scale that down a bit just so that it fits through there a little bit better. So that's looking pretty decent. Let's bring this one out a little bit and up. Okay. So there's a little bracket that goes up over the top of that and lets it slide through there. I think we need to rotate this a little bit more. There we go. For this next bit, we will be working on creating the speedometer, as well as some other dials. So the car is looking pretty good right now. Let's go over into another render layer. Let's pull out a circle. Let's actually turn up the number of vertices. In this case, I think 16 is probably adequate. Let's take a look at the speedometer though. before we go too far. So the speedometer here is pretty simple. It's mostly just a circle. However, it does have this little rectangular box for the odometer. It also has all these little ridges in between the numbers, and that will be fun to do. But for the most part, it's pretty simple. It's really just a circle. So let's get working on that. So tap into edit mode. Let's go ahead and start by modeling out the rim. We'll just do the outside of it first. So let's bring that in, bring it down, and this is the glass face that goes over the front. So this too, just like the headlights and some other stuff, is curved. So let's just bring it in nice and slowly. Lots of loop cuts in there. And let's fill it right about there. Okay, let's turn on the proportional editing by hitting Alt-O. And let's just pull this out ever so slightly. So this right here is the glass cover that goes over the top. Actually, we will want to separate this one. That way, since this is glass, we'll be able to see if this doesn't go all the way back. So let's just extrude this back. Let's turn up the number of subdivisions by hitting Control-1 on the keyboard. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit more solid. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's set it to smooth and move on. So next, let's go ahead and select the circle, duplicate it, hit P, separate it by selection. Let's just move it up a little bit in our case here. Let's bring this up again. So it kind of looks to me like it kind of comes up. So as it goes in, oops, let's hit Alt-O again to disable proportional editing. But it kind of looks like it curves up as it goes in. So, and say that's about how big this inner circle is. And then, so let's go ahead and bring this one back ever so slightly. Okay. Let's go ahead and hide our cover so that we can actually see what we're doing. So now we need to get this into more of a rectangular format. So let's just work on that. Okay. And that should be good. Okay. Okay. So let's just fill these guys in. Okay, so now we need to get this little wide crack in here. It's kind of short. Let's line these up a bit. Though it shouldn't really matter too much. Okay, I don't know, right about there looks good to me. Let's take these faces and hit E and then Z. Bring it back along the Z. Let's sharpen this up a bit. Hit K. Let's bring up the knife tool. So okay. It's not really a good way of, not really a good view. Let's try that. So in perspective mode, we can actually see everything. There we go. And cut that there. And of course my cut is very dirty, so let's go ahead and smooth that up a bit. Oh man. Okay, so we can just slide that out, slide that over, and maybe we didn't want those cuts. Let's get rid of them. We still do want to sharpen this up, but I think using the creases is a better way of doing it in this case. Just fixing that up a bit. Okay. So if we hit N, we can bring up this panel here, turn up the mean crease, and it sharpens things up very nicely. Let's go ahead and set this to smooth, maybe add a edge split modifier in there. Let's sharpen this one up. Okay, so now let's try to get those ridges in the face there. So really, I'm just thinking it's probably going to be pretty simple. So let's take every other ridge and bring it out. Okay, and then let's just go along here like so and turn up the crease. Maybe not quite that much. And that should be pretty good. Pretty decent. I feel like turning off that edge split might work better. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, that should be good enough. Yep, I'm happy with that. Although, there we go. Okay, so now we need to throw in some numbers, and probably the dial would be good too. So let's go ahead and add a cylinder. Set the number of vertices down to, I don't know, 8. Scale that down. Bring it up even with the dial. So it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so it's kind of skinny coming up, so let's just scale that down. And then has this section where it gets kind of wide, and then goes in, goes up a little bit, scales in, goes in, scale. So it kind of has a little bit of a domed top there, but a straight edge. That should be okay. I mean, we're not going into super amounts of detail on that merely because we're not going to be focusing purely on the dials. Most people just use textures, but I feel like doing a little bit more. So let's take this side one here, extrude it out, and that'll make up this end. Let's take these guys here and extrude them out. Just have it come in nicely like so. Let's there you go. So now this is actually pretty easy to rig if we wanted to, because I mean it's just a dial on a plate. So that's pretty easy. Let's go ahead and hide this now. So next up, we need to create the numbers. So let's go ahead and add in a text, and we're just going to type the numbers. Let's go over into the text, set it to centered, scale this down. Actually, probably playing with the font size would be better. So it starts at 0. And if we hit period, we can actually just rotate it around. So let's actually just move. So let's move these objects here so that they're actually positioned over the center. So selection to cursor. Of course, that's going to screw up our positioning. So let's hide these things, unhide them, deselect them, bring that up. There we go. This actually comes out a little bit further, so let's bring it out. Okay. Now we can create the numbers. So Shift A, text, let's create 0. No, there we go. So center it, set the size 0.1, let's bring it down along the Y, and start wherever you want, really. So although this next bit gets a little difficult, gotta divide. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 numbers here. So let's actually just create a circle here. Give it 15, well, looks like you could hit 15, so 16, 17, 18 maybe. So let's make an 18-sided circle here. If this is wrong, well, so be it. Let's just rotate that. Rotate. Can't really see the vertices very well, so let's fix that. And that just tells us where to position everything. It's a little repetitive, but it could be worse, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 15 objects selected. That's how many I said we needed. So there we go. So let's set this to 10. 20. Oh, that's not 20. Rotate it 180 degrees. All of these need to get rotated. And then it flips over at 120, so this one and this one are okay. So let's fix this. So 10, 20, 30, and so on. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Just bring that out a bit, right like that. Okay, so let's hide that circle, delete that extra text right there, bring it up. Well, Alt hide. Shoot. Bring it up, even with the surface. Now we need to go through and give all of these a little bit of thickness. Oh, don't think we need underline. Let's see. Nope. I think extrude is the one we're looking for. Yeah. So let's just set this to 0.01. Do that for each one of these. Oops. Oops. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. We need to put the little roller inside of the odometer, so let's go ahead and do that now. So select right in there, select right in there. Let's do cursor to selected, Shift A, create a cylinder. Let's set this, I think 8 should be good. So let's leave it at 8. Let's rotate it 90 degrees along the Y. Scale it down till it fits. Scale it up along the X. We can push it back because no one's actually going to see the end. So just make it fill the odometer pretty well. And then, whoa. Let's do tap out of edit mode, hit Control Alt Shift and C, origin to geometry, and let's hit comma, just so that it rotates normally again. So that's about how an odometer looks. Actually, I think we'll want to knock this down. So let's create an array modifier here. And this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're a little bit long. So let's just bring it in. Something along that line is good. Okay. I actually want to set this to about 0.99, or no, maybe 1.01, just so that there's a tiny bit of a crack in between. And once you're happy with that, let's just pull these back. We'll just leave those for now. They're fine. Let's unhide that. Let's duplicate everything, because at this point we're going to start applying the modifiers and doing some other stuff. So let's hide that one and that one. So let's apply this array. Those are good. I think we hit Alt-C. Yeah, mesh from curve. So let's convert all of these. Wonder if we can convert all of them like this. Yep, that looks like it worked. Okay, so let's delete that guy there. Then just hit Control J, make it one unit. Let's take this top and hide it, see what everything looks like. Okay. These guys down here got a little bit screwed up. So let's fix them. Actually, let's get rid of those edge loops. So 2, 2, 2. Okay, and I think if we do individual origins, scaling on the X does absolutely nothing. There we go. So I guess we just have to do that manually. So now let's just take all of these, hit Control L, and let's set them to smooth shading. Okay, that's good. Now, I think what we can do here, and it'll make these all better. Let's go ahead and hide these. Pretty much anything extra can hide. So let's take all of these. I want to separate them by selection. That way they're all still one unit. And then let's go ahead and, where is it? I think remesh. Whoa. That's not what I was looking for. Cancel. Okay, never mind. What that should have done was take it and take out all of the triangles and try to turn them into squares or rectangles, but that didn't work. So this is good enough. Let's move it over to the first layer, scale it down so that it'll fit inside of our car. Rotate it along the Z 180 degrees. Let's turn on optimal display. Rotate it. Stick it in the dash. I think right there is where it goes. Kind of like we're sitting behind the wheel. And it just sits, maybe scale that up a little bit, sits right about there, I guess. So that should be good. Okay, so there is that dial. We still have to create the other dials, which I don't have as great a picture of, but they're fairly simple, fairly similar too. They've got this cover here, they've got the ridged thing in here, then this actually pushes back further, it appears, and it's actually rotated, I think, and it just has this needle thing sticking out, and it should be the same way for the rest of these. So I'm just going to fast forward through this. I've gone ahead and placed the fuel gauge and the temp gauge in the dash, just as we did for the speedometer. Now let's go ahead and create some lamps. I'm just going to move these off to the side because we don't need them anymore. Let's reposition the cursor at the center, and let's take a look at the lamps. So we've got two lamps down here, two indicator lamps. One is for the oil and the other is for the generator. I'm not sure what this and this one do. I think it might be the turn signal though. So we will model all of those guys out. So really it's pretty simple. They're nothing more than little circles. Actually, let's make sure that it's got a good low polygon count. So 18 should be more than enough. You could probably get away with 8, but I'm going to do 18. So tab into edit mode, just as we did for the speedometer. Let's bring that in. So right now we're creating the bezel that goes around. It comes back, and then really I think we can just fill it in like so. And now let's go ahead and throw in a few loop cuts, clean it up. Oops, looks like I put that one on the outside, so let's get rid of that. Okay, and maybe one right there. So something like that is really all you need. Let's make this bulge out just a little bit. Okay, set it to smooth shading. Although I think, let's delete this face. I think making this right in here a little bit tighter will be good. So something like that. And now let's duplicate this. That way we can have multiple indicators. So there's one for the oil, one for the generator, one turn signal, two turn signals. Actually, since they're the same, we only need one. So let's create a text, type oil. Let's go ahead and make this a lot smaller and set it to center, justify. So I don't know, right about there should be good. Let's move this over. Shrink it down to make it fit. Let's bring both of these guys up a little bit. And they need a little bit of depth, so 0.01 and 0.01. There we go. So we'll just texture these two guys white and make the other indicators red, and then yeah. So let's go ahead and move this one over to the first layer. This is our turn signal indicator lamp. The orientation doesn't matter too much, we just have to rotate it along the X. Rotate it 90 degrees along the X. Okay. So now we just have to position it. I'm gonna hide these so that we can see a little bit better. So that one goes up right about there, and there's another one right about there. Slide this one in a little bit. So right there should be good. Now let's go bring the oil and the other one out. Although I think if we were to bring these forward a little bit, it might work a little bit better. So let's delete that one. Push this back, duplicate it, slide along the X. Right about there. Make sure that the text is still aligned. Okay. So there are our indicator lamps. Let's bring over the oil and generator lamps. So let's hit Alt-C, Mesh, and then let's hit Control-J to, or no, because we still have the subsurf on. So let's just move this over to the first layer, scale it down. this is the oil lamp. Let's rotate it 180 degrees, 90 degrees, or negative 90 degrees along the X. So that goes right down over here. Scale it down, push it back. Let's bring these forward a little bit. And just reposition that for like so. Now let's take this other lamp here, and since we're moving all of the backs up a little bit, let's just do that now. Okay. Move this over to the first layer, scale it down, right about there, rotate it 180 degrees about Z, then rotate it negative 90 along the X, push it back along the Y. Let's make sure it all lines up. So scale it until it matches. Okay, slide it over. This still might be a little bit big. Oops. So right now I'm just lining it up right about there. This one needs to slide over a little bit more. Okay, so if we unhide that, we have our indicator lamps now. For the next portion of this tutorial, we are going to be working on the little bracket that goes and holds the steering wheel in the dash. So it shouldn't be too difficult. Let's go ahead right over here, throw in a quick loop cut. This is going to give us the shape that we're looking for. Let's hit Shift D, then P, separate by selection. Let's hide the steering wheel for now. And now, from this point, we can just kind of extrude this out a little bit. I actually don't want the mirror modifier at this time, so let's hide that, disable that one right there. So let's be in orthographic mode and hide the dash, hide most of the stuff. Let's unhide the, just leave the bracket itself. Okay, so if we look closely, it kind of wraps under. We'll deal with that later. Actually, we might just leave that out. But it comes out and it gets thicker. So let's deal with that. So there we go. This one is fine. Needs to be down a little bit more. Working on this axis is a little bit weird because it's not quite X, Z, or Y. It's kind of its own thing. Although we can actually double tap the axis and it will work a little bit more easily. So we'll probably be doing that quite a bit. So at this point, we can probably just take this right here, hit E to extrude, and then pull it out along the Y. Let's just kind of, I don't know, push it along the X, and then push these ones up along the Z, or along the local Y, so double tap Y. Okay, something kind of like that. Okay, and then let's push that out along the X. And this is just that rim right here. So And then this one kind of comes way out and back in. Okay. And then there's actually kind of a little crease in here. So let's push that in. And then it looks like it just kind of folds in. So let's just scale that in and turn on our subsurf. It should look something kind of like that. What's going on right here? Oh, we got a strange face going on. Let's fill that. There we go. Okay, let's add the mirror modifier before the subsurf. Let's go ahead and grab these guys, move them in. Oh, turn on clipping first. Okay, so right like that. Oh boy. Okay, so those are all good to go. Let's unhide the stuff. Okay, well, doesn't quite fit on the dash as well as it could or should, so let's fix that now. Let's just take the whole object, move it down along the local Z. Let's hide most of the car. Everything except for the dash and the steering wheel, so select those items, hit Control I, and hide it. I don't particularly like working on this axis. It's a bit strange and difficult, but character building exercise. So let's just bring this up. Okay, let's take this fold that we did here and just delete it for now. We're pretty much just gonna fake it. So let's see. What do we want to do here? It's kind of hard to see what's actually happening. So it kind of wraps underneath. Actually, I think this would be a good place to put in a shrink wrap modifier. So let's try that. Shrink wrap, and then this one's the dashboard. So let's, over here, dashboard. Let's increase the offset. Okay, that's working decently. So we can control how close it is. And then after we finish that up, we'll just kind of apply it. Let's set this thing to smooth. Fix up the normals. So let's go ahead and apply this guy. So that's good. Let's take these guys and pull them up a bit. Something kind of like that. It's a bit difficult, but it's okay. Let's go ahead and hide our steering wheel for right now. Pull these ones up. Okay. So let's pull these out along the Y. And these up along the Z. Okay. So we have to do a little bit of fixing over on the other side, so let's apply that mirror modifier and take these ones, pull them out just a hair. And then we can just take the whole thing here and smooth it out. Pull it out along the Y, up along the Z. Maybe smooth these out a bit too. Okay. Got some vertices in here that I don't particularly like. I guess it's fine. Let's unhide that steering wheel, and I think that bracket's looking pretty good. Gets the point across. So there is a steering wheel bracket. In the next portion of this tutorial, we will be working on creating the door handles for the inside of the car. So I've got this reference image here. Unfortunately, it isn't orthographic, but we will have to make do with that. So let's go ahead and import a cube. Let's kind of make it longer and shorter. About like that should be good. And right now we're just making the door handle part, like the handle itself. And it kind of folds in like so. Let's go ahead and throw in a few curves. Take this middle one here, hit Alt-O, and let's just bring it up. So something kind of like that. If we go ahead and throw in a subsurf, turn that up, we can sharpen things up and clean it up, make it look good. Oops, not there. Let's set it to smooth shading. So there is the main handle part. Should probably sharpen it up a little bit. So select those guys. Let's scale it down along the Y. Okay. feel like it might be a little bit long along the X as well, so let's just shorten that. Okay, so let's create the circle part. So let's select right there, cursor to selected, Shift A, create a circle. 18 vertices is good. Let's just scale that up and back. So right about there, because this corner here comes right to the edge there. So right about there should be good. Let's bring it up ever so slightly. And then down. Actually, let's bring this up right to the bottom there. Then extrude that in. Bring it down. A little bit more in. Fill that. Okay, so right like that. Let's sharpen this corner right there. Extrude out and down and back in. Let's sharpen this up right there as well. Take these vertices here, that loop there too, bring it right up to the bottom of our handle piece. So right like that. Set this to smooth. So that's looking pretty good. But we're not quite done yet. So let's hide this circle. We need to take these bottom faces here and probably about there. Just extrude them down. Let's hit S, Z, and then 0 just to flatten it up. And that will just make everything, or that will just fill this in. Now let's also take these vertices here, S, X, 0, and then line all of these up, S, X, and 0 again, and that'll just smooth things out a bit. If we bring that back, like so, it'll be good to go. Let's sharpen that up, although not that much, so bring it in. Okay, so there is the door handle. Let's go ahead and move this to the first layer. It's humongous, so scale it down. Also, let's turn on optimal display. If we go ahead and take a look at the interior, it's the handle part is facing forward, so let's rotate along the Z 180, or rotate Z 90, rotate Y 90, or let's rotate that 180 degrees along the Y, and then let's just position it. I think let's turn off the mirror modifier for these edges here. That way we can actually see what's going on inside of the car. Let's hide this one altogether. Turn off the mirror there. Okay. So this one just kind of goes right down about there. Let's scale it down a little bit more. Bring it in along the X. Right, like so. Let's give it a modifier, mirror, along the center. Doesn't really matter what order you put it in. So let's turn these mirrors back on. Really, this mirror should be before the subsurface, so there we go. And there is our door handle for the interior. Let's unhide the seat there. So yeah, there's the interior door handle. For this next portion, we will be creating miscellaneous knobs and dash controllers. Okay, so let's get right into it. The dash knobs are actually fairly simple. Usually a bit of a cylinder with kind of a trapezoidal cylinder sticking out. So let's go over into another viewport, move the cursor to the center, create a cylinder. Let's set it down to 18, maybe even 8 vertices. Let's scale this down along the Z. Throw in a loop cut there. We're just giving it a bit of a lip up here. So hit E to extrude and then just scale that up. Hold down Shift Z to keep it from scaling along the Z axis. Then let's bring this, scale this in. Actually, let's delete this top face. Then take these top vertices here, scale them in, bring them down along the Z, scale them in again, bring them up along the Z again, and this part will actually be the physical pull that you pull on. So bring this up, scale it out, scale it in a little bit, kind of dome it up a little, dome it off a little bit. Okay, and then it's got this little thing on top. So that should just about do it for the generic knob. We can give it a little bit of a lip too, so something kind of like that. And then let's take off the face down here. Okay. I want to hide this bit here. Oh, maybe a little bit less. That way we can nicely see what's going on there. Okay. Then let's sharpen this one up as well. Set it to smooth shading, and there is a fairly basic knob. We may want to take this bit here, deselect those guys, deselect that one, just pull it up along the Z a little bit. I think I assigned it to a group, so I don't remember where the group data is. Right there. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so there is a knob. Let's move it over to the first layer. It's huge. Scale it down, bring it up, rotate along to the X, negative 90 degrees, or 90 degrees. Bring it down along the Z. Oops, sorry about that. Then just position it on the dash where it goes. So we just have 2 right next to the, right near the steering wheel, so right there and right about there. And then over here on the other side of the stereo, and then one more way over here. So those are kind of the knobs. There's another one over on the other side, over here, which we'll have to bring out along the Y just a tad. Rotate along the Z. Okay, so there's that knob. Okay, so that's going pretty well. So there are the knobs. Next up, well, we've got something going on down here that we're going to have to work on a little bit. So right about here, let's hit I. Oops, I. Got it. Hit I to create this little thing here. Hit S and then, well, select this middle rectangle, scale it down along the X, scale it up a little bit, down along the X, up, there we go, and then move it out like so. We're just going to make this little bump out here. Okay, let's delete this face like that. Okay, take these vertices, slide them over along the X, kind of make it into a circle, scale it in, take it back, move it down. Okay, let's take another one of these knobs. Actually, we can just pretty well covers that, doesn't it? Okay, that should be okay. Maybe we don't want that. Let's hide the knob. Get rid of this little thing here. That didn't work as well as I had hoped. So I think if we bring this one over, we bring this one over, bring these guys over, something more like that, and get the whole thing here involved, we might just have enough vertices that we can work with it. So let's bring this out, bring these guys up. We need to bring all of these in a little bit. Let's hide everything except for the dashboard. Okay, fill that in. Let's bring these guys over. Okay. Now we're starting to get it to work a little bit better. Let's sharpen that off a little bit. Unhide the knob. Bring it down along the Z. Just kind of position it right in the middle there. Let's bring these in and back. Kind of tighten this up. And it just needs to fit in there. So there we go. There's that knob. Okay, let's quickly kind of go over and create the heating control and the little, I think that's a radio. Shouldn't be too difficult. So let's select both of those items, put the cursor right in the middle there, create a cube, scale it way down. And really, we're not going to do too much detail here. Smell like that. Okay, and then I don't know what it looks like in detail. This isn't a very good picture, but basically it just has a bunch of knobs, or not knobs, but buttons that stick out. So we create another cube, scale it way down. Let's take that. So this will just be our button. Let's throw in a quick array. Turn up the count. Well, let's have it go the other way, so negative 1.1 maybe. Actually, let's give it a little bit more space. So I guess those are preset channels. Throw in a subsurf. So there is that. So there are buttons. Next up, I think we've got a little slidey thing over here on the edge. Let's put a 2 loop cuts in there, bottom there, top there. Actually, let's make it a little bit narrower. Just take this, bring it back, and delete that face. Okay. So now let's select all of these guys. Shift S, cursor to selected. Bring in a small cube. Scale it down along the Z. This is just going to be the little lever that sticks out. Let's bring that out there. So maybe not quite that much. Okay, take these, E, and then extrude along the Y. Let's delete these 2 interfaces there. And okay. Actually, let's get rid of these because we want to make it a little bit wider. Oops. This is actually okay. So E, and then S, and then X, and we can just kind of scale that out along the X. Let's go into vertex select mode, select these guys, S, then Z, and now we just kind of fill in the vertices. Let's go ahead and hide this box here. And I might just, we're probably just going to leave the text out because, I mean, we can't really see the stereo that well, so it doesn't have to be incredibly detailed, but just enough to pass off for a stereo. Okay. So I guess something along that line is good. Let's bring this out a little bit. Oops. There we go. Okay, so now you can move that around. And maybe just create a face for to show off the channel. Okay, so there's our stereo. Let's push it back a little bit more. Okay. And now we have the heater to do, which is basically the same. Got a bunch of slidey things and this unit in the middle. I think that's the heating unit, or heat control. But we'll just assume that it is. It's almost identical. So let's position the cursor right there. Right there. Create a cube. Scale it way down. Actually, let's move it over. Okay, so there is the heating unit. So we need to divide it. So we're going to have a slide over here, it looks like. A slide down here, slide up here, and then two things for the face. So let's make the track there. And then the face. And this is where the end of those slides are. So let's grab these. This slide is from here to there. Let's hit E, then Y, then delete the faces. Okay. And then let's take this one and push it back. Maybe a little bit less. Okay. So there's that. Hit Control I, hide, and now we'll create the little lever. Okay, so I don't know. Let's just put the cursor there. Create a cube, scale it down. Flatten it out a bit. Actually, It's only allowing me to do the faces. So let's just fill in these edges here. Actually, we can let's fill this one, take these edges here, E and then Y, extrude it out. Let's take this, fill that, put in 2 loop cuts. Okay. So there's our little lever. Let's pull it back along the Y. Okay. Now let's go ahead, duplicate it, put it into that top slide there, another slide down there. Let's move it along the X. So there's our little heating control, I think. Let's see, what else do we need to do? I think that is good for now. So yeah, that's pretty much everything on the dashboard, although I think there are 2 more dials. I'm not sure what they do, but they're right there and there. So let's just duplicate these, bring them down, kind of put them right there. Let's bring this one out along the Y ever so slightly, just because the dash kind of curves there. So there we go. There is that. Okay, so we're going to finish up this tutorial by putting a little crack right in the dash. So basically separating the glove box from the dashboard. We're also going to put in the pedals and the shifter knob. So let's begin by breaking apart the dash. So take this section right in here, and let's actually just go into local view by hitting the divide key on the number pad. So let's come right up here, deselect this set of vertices right there, and it goes over pretty far. I'd say almost that far, but let's do it to right there. Deselect any of them on the vertical piece right up here, and then just attach them or connect them across. Hit V to separate them, then E, and let's go back along the Y. Let's hide the main dash here. That way we can see what we're doing a little bit better. Bring this up. Okay, something kind of like that. Let's sharpen up these corners. So that's pretty good. Let's unhide the dash. Hit Control I, hide the glove box. Okay, so this next bit we will want to connect up the, well, we'll want to close it off in here. So just connect those. This one's a little bit tricky, but shouldn't be too bad. Let's just bring it down. So that's okay. Let's sharpen this up a little bit. Also, let's take these vertices here back a little bit. So deselect those and deselect. Actually, if we do that, then we can just take these guys and raise them up like so. And that's pretty easy too. So that looks pretty good. That's a much simpler method. Actually, let's do that over to this side as well. So deselect those, or delete those. Let's delete these guys. We'll do that again. Nope. There we go. Delete those vertices. Let's pretty much just select all of that. Hit E and then Y to extrude back. Select those vertices there, hit G and then Z, bring it up, and then we need to sharpen it, so just put a loop cut in there, and there we go. We have now separated out the little glove compartment from the dashboard. If we hit the divide key again on the number pad, we can see that all the objects, and it fits pretty well. Looks pretty good. So now let's start working on the shifter. So let's select these two edges right there. Hit cursor to selected. Let's bring in a cube, scale it down, scale it up along the y-axis. Let's bring it forward ever so slightly. Scale it along the x. Let's bring it over a little bit. Okay. Actually, we may also want to put in some edge loops there. So I'm just going to slide those in. You'll want them pretty close to this shifter knob box, because what we're going to do, delete that face, we're just going to bring it up close. Actually, let's apply this mirror and connect those guys up like so. Take this, hit E and then Z, kind of scale it down, and that is how we are going to kind of create this carpet. Let's hide this cube for now. Hide everything else. So hit the divide key. Let's take these guys here, hit GG. There we go. Let's hit SZ0, then hit E, scale that in, and then E again, scale it, bring it down. So that's where our shifter box is going to be. Let's unhide it. There. Let's actually delete that one and use just this box here. So duplicate that, scale this one up a little bit. Let's actually hit P, separate by selection, E, Z. Now we're creating this little piece that goes around here. Kind of scale that in, E, bring it down, bring it in like that, scale it in along the X. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's actually create 2 loop cuts. Sorry about that. If you can hear that noise, let me pause the video. Sorry about that, someone was vacuuming. Okay, so let's just bring that up like so to kind of sharpen off the corners. Maybe that was a little too much, so we can bring it back. Let's do the same over here. Nope. Scale those up along the Y. Okay, so there is the little top plate there. Now let's actually just bring these ones in along the X a little bit more. Something kind of like that. Looks like this one might actually be an automatic, which would be really kind of strange, but oh well, that's okay. Let's just bring this down, throw in a loop cut here. So that's good. Now let's go ahead and create the main shifter box, or not shifter box, but the lever. So create a cylinder. We can turn this up to 10 vertices and be fine. Let's scale it up along the Z. There we go. Let's delete this face down here. That looks kind of evil. So this is where the shifter ball is going to be. So let's just hit E to extrude. Just keep going. Okay. Let's set that to smooth and recalculate the normals. Now, since we changed the shape of the this plate here, we should probably fix that over here in the actual on the floor. Just make it fit. That should be good. So there is the shifter knob and lever, but we should probably tighten up that crease just a tad. Let's scale that in so it looks like a slightly separate object. And then this one actually kind of moves back and rotates. So something kind of like that. So there is the shifter knob and shifter assembly. Let's go ahead and create the pedals. So the pedals are kind of fun. Can't really see them in this one, but basically they are a big black, or not black, they're just kind of this rectangle. They've got this line down the middle and a couple of kind of this grid thing going on. So let's go ahead and put the cursor in the center, bring in a cube, let's scale it down, X, Y. Let's go ahead and get rid of the grease pencil. Okay, so pop in 2 loop cuts there. Let's cut this right in half, delete half of it, add a mirror modifier. Okay, let's scale this down along the y-axis, and I don't know, however many grid things you're looking for. It's really just for grip, so let's bring that in, over. Okay, and then if we just select all of these, E and then Z, and then take this guy here, flatten it up, Control 1, let's put in 2 loop cuts there, 2 loop cuts there, then put one down the middle, like so. That looks pretty good. So that's about what I'm looking for. Set it to smooth shading, comes out looking fine. Let's go ahead and move it over to the first layer. It's huge. So this is going to be the brake pedal. It goes right in the middle there, or right under the steering wheel. Scale it down some more. I don't know where it goes. Let's duplicate this, move it outside of the car, hit Alt-R to clear the rotation. Now we're going to make the gas pedal, so apply this mirror. Let's rotate it 90 degrees, and kind of want to just take this grid right there, hit Alt-O, let's just scale it in along the X. So let's just kind of scale that down. So that looks kind of like a gas pedal. So let's put it back inside the car. Just move it over. Okay, so there's our gas pedal. Let's kind of slide these over, give them some space. Let's duplicate this, make it clutch, even though that's an automatic. We'll just pretend it's not an automatic, and let's get rid of this. Let's close this off. So there's, yeah, that's the right amount of space. Let's take that, deselect these two guys right there. Nope. Turn off the proportional editing by hitting Alt-O. Let's deselect those guys. Actually, there. Hit E to extrude, scale them down toward the middle, and then hit bridge to selected loops or whatever it is. Let's do that over here. I hope this will work. Probably won't, but it would be nice if it did. It does. So just select these two loop. Nope. There we go. Bridge them. Let's even these things up. Okay. So there we go. There's our little clutch pedal. Let's get out of the local mode. Let's hit Control, Alt, Shift, and C. Origin to geometry. Let's bring that back over under the dash where it belongs. And go into side view mode. Rotate it along the X. So there are our pedals now. So those are good. Let's go ahead and select pretty much all of those. Hit Control I, hide. Now we're just going to go ahead and create the little lever that goes back into the car. Well, so select there, probably about, nope, there, okay. So we want these two right there. Let's just extrude them out. Okay, hit cursor to selected. Let's create a cube, scale it down. This is going to make up the lever. So just kind of bring that up. And I'm just going to pretend that's what it looks like. Ooh, got kind of skewed. So let's just fix that quickly. So SX and then 0. Select this side, SX 0. Hit Control L. Let's realign this. SY 0, SY 0, SY 0. Now this is going to screw up all of our angles, but it doesn't look too bad. Okay, so that's doing okay. Then let's just duplicate that, slide along the X, and once more for the gas. Okay, let's hit Control J, and then Control 1, set them to smooth. We may want to sharpen up a few things, but should be okay. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let's unhide the stuff. There are our pedals, there's the shifter. The car is looking pretty good. In this final portion of the tutorial, we are going to be creating the gas flap here on the back. So let's tab into edit mode. I'm going to put my gas flap right about here. Let's unhide that there. Okay. So with the gas, or with the section that you're going to put the gas flap selected, hit I, and that will just kind of create this little face in here. Let's select around that area right now. Hit V. Oh, it can't separate them. So separate them, I guess, not piece by piece, but let's try going edge by edge. So hit V, that'll separate off that edge. Let's try separating these edges. And finally, this edge. So now, that should be the gas flap now. So let's deselect those inner ones there. If we hit G, we can see that we still have it selected. Hit E and then X, and that will be the future gas flap. Let's go ahead and hit Control L, hide the gas flap, select around in there, hit E and then X, and intrude in there. Let's go ahead and sharpen this shape up a little bit. Now let's go ahead and correct the shape. So hide the trunk. Let's go ahead and put a loop cut in there, loop cut up there, one there, and finally one there. Okay. Now we should hide these extra loops, so just slide it over until it hits. Let's go ahead and hit T, remove doubles. It should get rid of a few vertices. Hopefully it doesn't screw too much up. Now let's do that over to this side too. So deselect those, hit GG to do an edge slide. Select right in there, remove doubles, so that's cleaning that up very nicely. Let's make sure that up here is still good as well. So deselect in there, GG, slide it back until it hits. Let's do it up to here as well. So deselect there, and slide those back. So now we just need to select in there, select those ones, hit remove doubles, and it should be good to go. Now we just have to sharpen up the gas flaps, so hit Control L, hide, or select the gas flap, hit Control I, hide, then just put in a few loop cuts, sharpen things up a bit. Oops, not one in there. So there is the gas flap. So that is looking pretty good. If you need to move it around at all, just select those vertices. And just drag them around. Although you should make sure that they are still in line with the shape of the body. So something kind of like that should be good enough. So that looks fine, and I think that's good enough for the gas flap. I don't see anything that I really think needs to get corrected, but I would like to take these inner areas and just bring them forward along the X a little bit, just to make them smaller. So there is the finished gas flap. Now, with the mirror modifier, this car will have two, one on both sides, but that's okay. If you don't want to do that, undo what we just did, apply the mirror modifier, and then redo it. This concludes this episode. In the next episode, we will be starting on the materials. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, please like it and subscribe to BlenderWiz. If you have suggestions for future tutorials or suggestions to make these videos better, please let me know in the comments section. Thank you for watching.